Good morning. Welcome to Real Talks Dominate Real Estate. It's May 14th, 2021, and I'm Eyerusalem Meaza. Grab a cup of coffee and let's make your real estate career better. And happy Friday, everyone. So the first thing I'm going to be discussing is the headline. So the biggest hurdle for buyers, it's winning a bidding war. Home searches are lengthening as buyers find themselves up against steep competition. 64% of buyers who are actively engaged in the home buying process reported searching for 3 months or longer without success, according to research from the National Association of Home Builders reflecting first quarter data. These long-term home searchers increasingly are blaming bidding wars. 45% of house hunters looking for 3 months or longer say they keep losing bidding wars. That was the top reason over finding a home at an affordable price or being able to find a home they want. Long-term house hunters are not giving up, however. 50% of active buyers who have searched for 3 months or more say they will continue to hunt for the right home in their preferred location. 42% plan to expand their search area. The share of buyers willing to do that has grown from 34% a year earlier. The NAHB reports 28% of respondents said they'd be more willing to accept a smaller or older home than they originally intended, and 24% were willing to buy a more expensive home. In related news, home buyers may be getting a price shock. Nearly every metro area saw year-over-year home price increases in the first quarter. What's more, 89% of metro areas across the country posted double-digit gains, according to the latest quarterly report from the National Association of Realtors released on Tuesday. The median existing single-family sales price rose to $319,200, registering an annual increase of 16.2%, a record high according to records dating back to 1989. Significant price increases throughout the country simply illustrate strong demand and record low housing supply, says Lawrence Yun, NAR's chief economist. And he also says that the record high home prices are happening across nearly all markets, big and small, even in those metros that have long been considered off the radar in prior years for many home seekers. Home sellers are certainly benefiting from the sharp price increases, but buyers are facing challenges. The average national monthly mortgage payment increased to $1,067 in the first quarter, up from $995 a year ago. And the increase in the monthly mortgage payment came even as the 30-year fixed mortgage rate dropped to as low as 2.93% in the first quarter. Last but not least, despite skyrocketing home prices, a majority of Americans believe now is a good time to buy a home, according to a new survey from Gallup. Some 53% of Americans believe it is a good time to buy, citing the results of a survey of nearly 1,000 U.S. adults conducted in April by Gallup. Last year, only 50% of people felt this way, marking a record low since Gallup began tracking American sentiment on the housing market in the 1970s. At the time, people were responding to the sudden slowdown in real estate transactions as the economy shut down at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. Demographic shifts in the pandemic fueled move to remote working caused demand among homebuyers to jump. As people rushed into the market and quickly scooped up properties, the inventory of home for sale has dropped to a record low in recent months. To an extent, this supply gap is a reflection of years of underbuilding following the Great Recession. The situation has caused home prices to reach record highs across much of the country, and Americans have taken notice. Gallup's survey found that 71% of Americans believe that home prices are going to increase over the next year in their local market. This is the highest reading since Gallup began tracking this data point, though it is not statistically different from 2005's measure of 70%. A year ago, only 40% of people expected home prices to increase. So those are the headlines. Next, I'm going on to mortgage interest rates. So for 30-year fixed, we have 2.875%. 30-year jumbo, we have 2.5%. FHA and VA are both 2.625%. Brought to you by PNC Mortgage for the DC metropolitan market. Next are the market stats. In the last week in Hampton Roads, we saw 850 new listings hit the market, 870 properties go pending, and 846 properties sold. In the last week in the Washington metro area, within 30 miles of the White House, we saw 1,678 new listings at the market, 2,098 go pending, and 1,474 homes sold. All right. Next, I'm going to bring on our special guest today, Coach Amy Lassen. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today, and happy Friday.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So today's topic is the one thing you didn't know about marketing your sphere.
Well, yes, that's the secret for our class on Monday, and we're going to go into depth about how to market yourself to your sphere of influence. And there is a secret. But I feel like, Eyerusalem, you and I have seen, even if we give agents the secret, what's likely to happen? They won't do anything, right?
Right. And we've definitely talked about this before.
We can give
Absolutely.
away the secret sauce all day long, right? So why do agents not consistently market to their sphere of influence? Or even inconsistently?
Inconsistently, right?
What do you think?
I think there's so many factors, and I mean, I think especially this past year, it's been a crazy market that, they're getting calls left and right. And the one thing that I've noticed, and I think with agent behavior, like since the beginning of the pandemic, I think they're like, okay, we're going to reach out to our sphere. Everything started shutting down, right? We were all concerned about the market and things like that. But as soon as like June and July hit, everything started picking up. So when they get people, they were getting calls left and right with everything, with home sellers, home buyers. And so when agents get so caught up in these transactions and their busyness of the day-to-day life, they tend to forget that marketing to their sphere consistently is important. And so when they're in the midst of getting all these deals and they have people in the pipeline, they're like, okay. And I feel like there's a shifted mindset. And so I feel like I think based off of my interactions with agents, I think that's definitely a factor. And then it's like when business is slower, they're like, okay, I have more time, then I can kind of market to my sphere. And so that's where I think that inconsistency comes into play. So it really just depends on how busy they are with their business, right? If they're busy, they're getting deals, they're getting clients, then they're less likely to market to their sphere because they're getting the business. But at the same time, rates are going to go up. Rates are going to, the economy's opening, rates are going to go up, right? We're not going to be in the same market anymore. And so what's going to happen is these agents are going to have to consistently market to their sphere, even though they have all these clients right now, because it's all about what's going to be in the pipeline, right?
Sure.
After this market, this crazy market that we're in, and we don't know how long it's going to last, but soon enough, I think the rates are not going to stay the same for sure.
Right. Well, I think you're pointing out something. You're giving agents a lot of credit, and I was going to say they just don't market to their sphere. But I appreciate what you're saying about when they're not busy, they do, and that's true. I think when I've got nothing in the pipeline, I start to panic, right? And doing whatever it takes to get some appointments to try to get things going, and then I get super busy, and that's the roller coaster of real estate, right? You know, I have nothing. I'm marketing. It's not working. Help. Oh my goodness, I have so many deals. I can't handle it. I can't, So the roller coaster of real estate really does make lead generation inconsistent. And I think you described it really well. I get plenty of pushback also from agents who just say, I don't want to be pushy. I don't know what to say. I'm not comfortable. So for whatever reason, people are not marketing to their sphere. That is something to be addressed. So maybe we can pull all of the agents who attend on Monday and talk about the various reasons that they do or don't market themselves to their sphere. But I think what I'm claiming is the secret could help. And I think the secret to marketing yourself to your sphere of influence is to do a much better job of packaging up and educating all of your potential clients about your service. Right? Eyerusalem, if I called you every single month and said, how you doing? How are the kids? Wow. How are the cats? Wow. Yeah. Nice. Hey, by the way, if you were to buy or sell real estate or had a friend or family member who would you refer me? You could say, sure, Amy, yeah, right? Like, if that's the conversation, if I'm just begging for business month after month.
Right.
What are the chances that I'm going to be top of mind for you, right? So I've shared before the aha moment that I had when I started getting testimonials from people that I referred to my sister. My sister is a great agent. I call her when I need advice. But when her clients were telling me that on a scale of 1 to 10, she's a 15, and that's how real estate should be done, I started tripping over myself to refer her to other agents who needed her services in that market, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when people talk about real estate, I don't mostly tune it out or think about that one nagging agent who calls me all the time, right? I'm like, oh, you've got to talk to Sarah. It's going to be amazing. So I think we have an opportunity to create that level of fandom within our own sphere of influence by educating them about what we really do and why anybody they refer to us is going to be so grateful, right?
Right, right.
That's my start. Of course, there's so much to being consistent, and I love that you started with the roller coaster of inconsistency. How do we control our time? That gets me to all the services that Remax Allegiance has, you know, the classes and services. So I don't know, this is not what we intended to talk about on the show today necessarily, but I think some incredible things that will help us, because a lot of what affects the roller coaster is time.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm going to say, I don't have time. I've got 5 under contract. Heaven help me. The last thing I need is to generate more leads, right? I've had agents tell me they're so busy and they're so burdened and they're so stressed.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking of like, maybe I should get out of the business, right?
Oh, wow. I would have thought maybe I should hire, you know, a transaction coordinator, a marketing assistant, getting out of the business. I mean, that would, you would think, you know, you're in the momentum, right? You're getting all these, you're making your business. And I think it's like a big part is really like, I don't know, burnout is definitely big, especially from last year and this year with this market. But I wouldn't want our agents to stop the business because of how busy they are, you know? Yeah.
Max Allegiance agents. That's not who I was.
Yeah, I know. But I just didn't expect that to be a thing. More like, oh, I should hire an assistant.
Just
oh,
like,
wow.
I can't do this anymore. I'm too tired, right?
Oh, wow.
But you're coming up with such a much better way of solving the problem. Get some help, right?
Right.
When you're busy, when you're so busy and you're so tired that you can't think straight, taking on the task of hiring a talented assistant doesn't feel possible, right? I don't have the time, I don't know how, and I'm too tired, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there are lots of things that we can do to get some of our time back, to get some of our sanity back, and to free us up to continue to do lead generation on a more consistent basis. So the waves of up and down are much gentler and less steep. So resources that Remax Allegiance has that I think make your agents' lives way better is they can sign up for the monthly newsletter to go out to their sphere, right? So how do they do that? Contact the marketing department?
Yeah, marketing at rmxtalk.com. Also, if you go to dominaterealestate.net, you click on the Allegiance toolbox and select marketing, and you'll be able to find that service there. And the good thing with what I noticed with the newsletters, and I think when you're marketing to your sphere, the newsletters, and I've seen them, the one our marketing team does, they're phenomenal. And they add things that are not all about real estate content. You know, it's like things you should be doing at home, you know, landscaping trends, like all of these awesome, like information, very useful information. So it's not always right. So these agents, when they're doing marketing, you know, I also tell our agents, you know, don't always regurgitate real estate information, right? Yeah. The way to really stay on top of mind for your friends and family in your sphere is just really putting your information out there, you know, whether it's about market stats, industry related news, but anything that you find, and incorporating that in the conversations you have when you're checking in with your clients and your friends and things like that. And I think the newsletter really reflects that. Because it's a balance of both. And I tell agents to balance it out too when they're marketing to their sphere, because it's, you know, whether you're doing like calendars, you're mailing calendars, and then you have like the recipes, right? You have like the magnet calendars. I love those, and I actually keep those, right? And I put them on my refrigerator, and they have like the recipes for each month. And so like, that's an example, right? You're like, oh, I know this agent, right? Like someone wants to buy or sell. You're like, that person is what comes to mind, because I remember I always get those recipes. I always look at those recipes, right? And so it wasn't even real estate related. These are just cooking recipes that I have on my refrigerator door and a magnet. So I think marketing to your sphere is not always real estate related. It's a good balance of both. And, the newsletter definitely reflects that.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah. You make a super good point.
Yeah.
We can't just put market stats in front of our people over and over and over. They may not have any moving needs for another 7 years. So, right. And if they tune us out because they think, well, yeah, I remember, I'll call Amy when I'm ready, then I'm not top of mind when their friends, coworkers, family members are looking for a good agent. I'm not top of mind anymore because they've tuned me out. So I think that's a super good idea. Use the newsletter that has a balance of just casual living, right? All sorts of day-to-day things that anybody would be interested in, and some very specific real estate market updates. So the newsletter. The next thing I want to point out that RE/MAX agents can do to help their agents save time and continue marketing is setting up a Google My Business listing, right?
Yes.
So how does that work?
Yes. So they can go to dominantrealestate.net and then click on the Allegiance Toolbox. We have the Google Business sign up form there, or they can contact me at education@rmxtalk.com and we can schedule an appointment. We usually just we do a one-on-one session and we go through, because there's a lot of things that we have to consider, whether it's like they have a Google account, maybe they already created one and they're trying to optimize it and things like that. And it's such an easy way to request reviews. Like the agents that I've spoke with, it's 10 times easier than through Zillow. And the big thing is, like, people are also Googling you and looking you up. And so your Google business page, it's free. And so, yeah, education@rmxtalk.com. I am happy to schedule something with you to get that set up.
Okay, awesome. Next thing, the buyer and seller guides that RE/MAX Allegiance has that are customizable to your agents. They can order those. I guess we can talk in just a second about who to order those from. But
yes,
the reason to have a professional buying guide, the reason to have a professional seller guide is it really does set the tone for the relationship with this client, right? Somebody says, I'm thinking of buying, I'm thinking of selling. You don't want to just say, sure, great, when do you want to see a house? That doesn't really set the tone, right? We want to have a very professional interaction. You want to follow a standard intake form, ask all the appropriate questions, make sure you understand their true motivations. I insist on a visual, interactive, Zoom-driven buying strategy session, but send them your branded home buying guide that really helps to cement the professionalism that you offer. So buyer and seller guides, absolutely have those unlocked, have those ready to go. Don't wait till your next listing appointment to go, I don't have what I need. I should sign up. So do it sooner than later. So how can they do that?
Marketing@rmxtalk.com, or you can go to dominantrealestate.net, click on the Allegiance Toolbox, select marketing, and you will be able to access the marketing presentations there. We have listing and buyer presentations. And I think right now, before COVID, we definitely had agents who would come in with those beautiful books, right? Hardcover books, those glossy cover and everything. They would come into those presentations, walk into those conference rooms, right?
Yeah.
And as part of the pricing plan, right? For these presentations, they do have you get a link. So it's a virtual book, and which is really nice because you can email it to your clients before you meet with them on Zoom, or maybe you're doing some sort of hybrid thing where you're, where things are slowly opening up, but we're still doing a lot of things via Zoom. So it's a really nice way for you to maybe share your screen, open up the book. It's a really nice view of the book when you click on the link, and like the pages are like, you can flip through the pages too as you're sharing your screen on Zoom, or you can email it to them in advance and things like that, or you can just mail a really nice book over to their home or something like that. So there's different ways to really be creative with that.
Awesome. Okay. And then I don't know that this is the last one, but it's the one that's occurring to me, is that on dominantrealestate.net, there is a guide for creating home value reports. Yes. So as home prices continue to go up so incredibly, not everybody knows what their house is worth. I have a friend who took a listing in an older neighborhood. Not a lot of people had moved away, so there were a lot of older residents there. And he actually had a good old-fashioned flyer box. Cracked me up. On the side, I don't know if you guys have these where you are, but we don't do those much anymore. We don't put a flyer box on the sign and put printed out flyers in there anymore. We just don't do it. It's a QR code or, you know, a website they can go to on their smartphone, right? Well, he went ahead and used a good old-fashioned flyer box, and there was a neighbor who came by and pulled the flyer, and she was so shocked to see what they were asking for a house that was very similar to hers. She called him and said, "I'm ready. I want a list." Now, that was just by informing someone of what her house was worth she otherwise didn't know. So think about your own sphere of influence. How many people know, like, and trust you who are in your market who own homes, right? It could be a couple of hundred people. Do they really know what their home is worth? They may or may not be paying attention. Maybe they're going online every day and looking at various online ways of searching and comparing to what their neighbor's house sold for. Maybe they have a sense of it. But the rate of increase is so steep that sometimes you still can't tell, right?
Right.
So what something sold for 6 weeks ago that's now being reported on, you know, realtor.com or some such website may or may not reflect what they can get for their home. So creating these cool branded home value reports for your sphere of influence not only is a service to them, it keeps you top of mind. It's a document that they're going to hang on to. If you do one every single year, you are a partner in their home ownership journey. You are top of mind. And when you call and when you say, "How has it been? How have you survived COVID with the kids at home?" and they're getting your monthly market update, you are top of mind. I think the other way that we can really, really engage and make sure that our sphere understands the service model that we offer is to connect with them on social. A lot of people, that's their favorite way of communicating with most people, right? So many of your sphere, as is appropriate to connect with on social. Some of our past clients and friends and neighbors and former coworkers don't use social. That's perfectly okay. I get that objection from agents. "Well, some of my clients don't have Facebook." That's fine. I don't care. Good for them. Connect with the ones that do or the ones that are appropriate, right? And then you can engage with them. You can comment on their life events. You can pay attention to what's going on for them. And then they can see your healthy, you know, Eyerusalem, you said have a healthy rotation. No, you didn't say rotation. What was your word for the newsletter? A healthy balance.
Yeah.
Right? You know, more
personal and professional. And I actually taught a social media class yesterday, putting the social media, and I did talk about that with Facebook, with Messenger. You don't necessarily have to be friends with them to message them directly, but all of your Facebook friends, anyone you can find, if you find an article or something that really speaks to them, you can just share it with them. Be like, "Hey, was thinking of you when I saw this," or "Hey, just wanted to check in," or "Congrats on your son for winning a soccer game," and things like that. Those little things like that are what really keeps them top of mind. Keeps you top of mind, right? When it comes to them. And so it is, and I tell them it does not always have to be business when you're interacting with them, especially on social media. There's so many things that you'll find there. Anything you find, you know, whether you're commenting, you're posting, you're engaging with those, and then you're messaging them, it's a really great way to keep in contact with them that way without really sharing information. But also, and I tell them sometimes, like, that person, when you're congratulating, let's say, their son for that soccer game, right? They're probably going to respond back saying, "Oh, thank you so much. How's real estate going?" Right? And then that's when you can start initiating the conversation and talk about real estate, right? But initially, it's not about business, right? But keeping that personal. So I always tell agents too, when you're marketing to your sphere, have that balance, have that really healthy balance.
Oh, I think so. And that's a great example. And I love your class, keeping the social or putting the social back in social media.
Yes.
How often do you teach it? Because you just taught it yesterday. So those who missed out, how often? How many times a year do you teach it?
I teach it a couple times, but I am going to teach it again, most likely next month. But and any updates that we have will be. It really just depends on the theme that we have for our month. But if not, I always schedule sessions with our agents to go over like best practices, social media strategies. If you go to dominaterealestate.net, click on the events calendar. We constantly make updates there. So any class that I'll teach there will be on Thursdays at 2:00. I don't know when is going to be the next one, but hopefully soon.
Okay. Jackie posted in the private, it says it's a private chat. So anyway, I'm going to out her anyway. She's asking if it's recorded. That cracks me up, Jackie. So at my brokerage, agents all the time will panic and say, "Oh, are you going to record the class? I can't make it. Are you going to record it?" And they created this huge, they had to buy technology. This is a while ago. Like, it's easier to record things nowadays thanks to COVID. We're all COVID sensitive, and we're all, tech savvy supposedly. But they would record classes, and guess how many of our 200 agents would watch the recording? None. So any agent who's saying, is it recorded? Is it recorded? I just want to say, are you going to watch it? I would make an effort to be there live Thursdays at 2, engage with the other agents, engage with the instructor. I don't know. If you guys are recording them and making those available to the agents, that's awesome. But I'm a little cynical about that because I think people don't watch recordings as much as they claim they will. So
yeah, and we do record them to accommodate their schedule, but I think there's so much more interaction that you can get when you're seeing the class live, right? Okay. You're engaging, and I see agents engaging rather than I see agents engaging in with the class live versus recording. Yeah. And then they can ask their questions, get clarification. I set up a follow-up and things like that. And so, and I think, and people had questions at the end of my class yesterday. I thought it was a really good session. And you get to see those aha moments and things like that. It is definitely harder via Zoom, of course, but some of the ones that keep their cameras on, for sure, like you get to see those, their facial expressions and things like that when you're going through the slides, which is nice, which I really like about teaching. But that social media class really, really goes well with marketing to your sphere. And I plan to teach it again. I did have to make some adjustments to it because right when, COVID started last year, that's when I put the class together. And things definitely, so many things have changed since over a year ago, right? So I did make some minor adjustments to it. And so, and it's, we're just in such a fast-paced environment right now. Agents are on the go. And, I tell them, put it as part of your routine when you're marketing to your sphere, whether it's a message, you want to check in on one person, try to call, whether it's, we tell them, try to contact 1 through to 5 people a day, whether it's through Facebook Messenger or text or phone call or Instagram message or an email, any form of contact is good. And I think, and you mentioned time management earlier, and I think it's with this whole roller coaster of the market, and I think it's really hard to keep it consistent when they're marketing to their sphere because they don't have time, especially when they're busy. But it really can be manageable if you really break it into chunks and have those weekly action checklists that we provide and a daily action checklist. If you have this routine and you have it scheduled, putting it into your schedule or your Asana checklist or in your calendar to really find the time to contact 5 people from your database and check in with them. And not by force. Some of those things will come naturally. Maybe you're scrolling through your feed and you see something and you end up contacting them. That counts, right? Any form of contact counts. That's what I tell agents. And so to make it seem easier for them, and then they can be like, oh, that wasn't too bad. It didn't take me hours, like I had the time for it. So, try to find ways to make it manageable so that they can do it.
That's fantastic. And you mentioned one other thing that is a potential time saver to RE/MAX Allegiance agents, and that is learning to manage their to-dos, manage their workflows in Asana, and you have trainings on that. So yes. Yay for RE/MAX Allegiance agents. And I honestly am a fan of Zoom classes, especially since even if it wasn't COVID, I couldn't teach in your classroom because I'm in another state, and I love teaching for RE/MAX Allegiance. So thank you to all the RE/MAX Allegiance agents who are so active and interactive in the classes that I teach on Mondays. I look forward to seeing you all for years to come.
Yes, and this was a really nice preview to your class next Monday. So everyone, please go to dominaterealestate.net, click on the events calendar, go and register for Amy's class. It's the one thing you didn't know about marketing your sphere. So if you want to learn about that one thing, register today and tune in next Monday at 10:30 a.m. That will be an awesome session. And so please check it out. And Coach Amy, thank you so much for joining me today. And everyone, thank you for watching and hope that you all have a wonderful weekend.
Bye, everybody.